today's show, the Dallas Mavericks do it. Anthony Davis heading to the Washington Wizards, and they basically got everything they wanted in an AD trade. Just maybe not on the level we thought. Today is Locked On Mavs.
This is Cooper Flagg, and you're listening to Locked On Mavs.
I think that's a good question.
Good morning, Isaac. All these changes, I still got my dog, Dwight Powell.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
I'm going to get a city like that.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, where it's a trade, so we let it ride. Your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen to the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Joining me, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years, right alongside me, the called it incompetent idiot, the one we're thinking, what you got for me, Isaac Harris?
We finally got an Anthony Davis trade.
You called it.
It happened. No, I listen, I have been very adamant that they will trade Anthony Davis. The writing has just been on the wall. It was going to happen, and I stayed true to it even on yesterday. I was I'm like, it's going to happen. And so many people over the past, so many of you guys in the comments, I wish I had time today to just go through all the comments that's called me stupid, 80's not getting traded, all this crap over the past few weeks. But no, this is a good move for the Mavs. And one of the things I was worried about going in was Patrick Dumont not being willing to get over the fact of, man, are we going to be able to get some type of equal return for Luka in an AD trade? And from the very beginning, we go back months ago, we sat on this podcast and said, you can't think about the past. You got to think about the future. And this is why it's like we've been saying on the show, it's like expiring contracts, draft picks, these are things, young flyers on things, on players. It's like these are the things to prioritize an AD trade, and the bar you're setting for AD, it can't be so high. You got to prioritize building around Cooper Flagg. You're a second apron team with a bottom tier record. You got to fix that. It's just, there was just too many things. AD hasn't been playing. He has done everything right as a player here and a veteran here. For him, the person, I hope he gets healthy. I really, really do. He's had incredible bad luck here in Dallas. But for the asset and player wise of building around Cooper Flagg, it did not match and was not going to work out. And I think this is a home run of a trade for the Dallas Mavericks today. A home run, considering where they're at.
Considering where they're
at. You're not getting an all-star for Anthony Davis.
This to me is a home run in the same way that you're playing backyard softball with your family at a family reunion, and the 5-year-old comes up and hits the ball down the middle of the field, and he gets to run all the way around the bases. You did technically accomplish all the things that you wanted in this trade. The Mavs trade Anthony Davis to the Wizards. They get Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malaki Branham, Marvin Bagley, 2 first-round picks, 3 second-rounders. They also trade Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum to the Wizards. And so you list all those things at once, and it's literally all the things we talked about. Get off of salaries. Ding. Expiring contracts. Chris Middleton and Marvin Bagley. Expiring contracts. Young players. AJ Johnson, Malaki Branham. Got those. Draft picks. Got 5 draft picks. 2 firsts and 3 seconds. Even if one of the first is technically a second-round pick because it's number 30. The thing is, you got all the things that you wanted. So yes, you did accomplish this. It's not to the level that maybe some Mavs fans were expecting or hoping. Some Mavs fans will, like you said, look back to the Anthony Davis trade. Man, we traded Luka for a bag of chips. Literally just got that in my mentions. But you had to cut ties. You had to make a move. You had to clear the books for next year. You had to get flexibility, because flexibility is a currency in the NBA now. To be able to move off of something quick enough. Look at some of these teams, and some of them aren't the smartest teams doing this, but teams like the Kings, looking at Dennis Schroeder, they targeted Dennis Schroeder as the #1 player for them in the offseason. They signed him to a deal. They were going to move off of Malik Monk to make it happen. And then it didn't work out for him. So they move on from him, right? Some of these teams target players. It doesn't work out. And you're like, all right, we just got to cut ties real quick. and we've got to figure out how to move forward because you only have a certain amount of time in a window. And right now is the window of building assets for Cooper Flagg's present, whenever that's going to be, whenever he's ready to start winning now. And maybe it's sooner than later, the way he's looking right now. But the Mavs needed that flexibility. They needed assets to be able to make the next move because the Mavs weren't going to win a title with Anthony Davis, Kyrie, and Cooper Flagg. They weren't, because the timeline of Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis' injuries was never going to line up. And Cooper Flagg maybe wasn't going to be ready to compete for a title with those guys right now, even if they were healthy.
You have to prioritize Cooper Flagg right now. And we've been saying, like you said, these three things for Dallas to go after and get. And they went out and did that, man. Like, even if it's the 30th pick in the draft, it's still a first rounder. A first round pick has a guaranteed contract compared to a second round pick. This is why some first rounders try to move into the second round, like teams, because they don't want to give a guaranteed contract. But, it's like you get extra picks now going into this 2026 draft. You have, 3 selections now going into that draft. You bring back players, you have your own draft pick, which you're bringing back players that are not going to help you win this year. I mean, Middleton, for all we know, could be moved again or could be bought out to go to a contender or something. Same with Bagley. I don't know. He's still just 26. The irony.
Can we take 1 second and talk about how hilarious it is the Mavs have Marvin Bagley now?
The baffling Kings, the Bagley of
It was almost like Matt George needed to be removed from Locked On Kings in order for that to happen. But yeah, the Kings picked Marvin Bagley over Luka, and now Marvin Bagley's on the Mavericks.
Yeah, the Wizards might need to do a magic trick to see AD on the floor. But when you for Dallas, you look at those three things. You clear up so much cap space. They get under the first apron. They get under the luxury tax in this too. And you picked up draft picks in this. And yeah, I mean, we could stay here and debate and go back and forth on how you want to feel about AJ Johnson and Malaki Branham as two young guys. Branham's still 22. AJ Johnson's 21. Branham, started off in San Antonio. AJ Johnson started off in Milwaukee. I already tweeted out a funny thing of like people sleeping on AJ Johnson. But he was a first round pick in the 2024 draft. He's super young. He's still just 21, but he was super young in that draft. But just athleticism, just out he's a super crazy athlete. So I don't know what either one of those guys will turn out to be, but they're super young. And when you're building with Cooper Flagg right now, you're trying to get more bites at the apple with more draft picks. You're trying to get more bites at the apple with young flyers around the league. And you get a super athlete like AJ Johnson, you get another wing in there like Malaki Branham, and you're like, hey, now's the time for the rest of the year. Go out there, show us what you're made of. You might show that you're worth keeping on the roster moving forward. So you said the home run thing, or I said the home run thing, and you're countering with the kid thing. In 2025, this isn't a home run. It's a disaster. Like if you turned around and made 80, right. In 2026, this is a home run. It's just a matter of you have to if you're looking at the past, then yeah, it's a disaster when you look at it that way. When you look at the present of an Anthony Davis who has played in 29 games since the trade, who's over 30, that is expecting an extension coming up really soon, that's making over $50 million. And even if he doesn't get an extension right now, he's going to make 56 next year and then a player option for over 60 the next year. So when you consider all of that and you traded that player for all of that cap relief, extra draft picks, a couple young flyers, that's where I'm like, Matt Riccardi, Michael Finley, you did a heck of a job. I mean, a heck of a job at that.
They got all the things that they wanted. And so now we take a look at what the Mavs are right now, talk about where the Mavs are going, because now they have some assets. Now they have a couple of things. There's a couple other wrinkles in this trade that I think are really, really good. Let's talk about what the Mavs did, why this trade is as good as we think it is right now. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Indeed Jobs. Some people are, looking for jobs all over the place, and When you want to hire somebody, you need to find somebody that's not only willing to take the job, but finding the right person. There's so many people looking that people are sometimes they're lying on their resumes. So you got to figure out if that's right. Indeed sponsored jobs is the move to help you, because instead of hoping the right person just stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with qualified candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, locations. They're looking for you with certain specifications. You should look for them with certain specifications, so you can all find each other in harmony. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want someone who can help. I've done this. I've hired for Locked On, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, I want to host this show. Have you ever covered this team? No. Okay, well, I would use Indeed to find all the people that have covered these specific teams, and then I can find the right people. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are an actual fit. Here's a stat that says it all. The minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you and your job get premium status that it deserves on Indeed.com/podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Also brought to you by TurboTax. It's that season again. You're like, I got that anxiety feeling. You're like, oh, I got to fill out all these forms. I got to figure out exactly how do I get deductions. Does this count as a deduction? Does this not? Let TurboTax take it over for you and make your life easier. Just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, write in all those little things, trying to figure out, all right, is this a deduction? Is this not a deduction? Okay, I got a 1099, I got a W-2, I got all these different things to fill out. They can help you. The TurboTax local expert will help you out with that. Huge time saver. It gives you real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. So for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. TurboTax.com/local.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. That's what we call our listeners, listening every day. As soon as this trade happened, the Discord was just popping off. The text line was popping off. The mentions on social at Locked On Mavs were popping off. Follow along with us. We do shows on the Mavericks every single day. We do multiple shows. We do every post game. Me and Slightly doing shows. Isaac's doing episodes on the draft. We've got more draft picks, so we'll have more shows on who the Mavs can get with their pick and the pick 30 that they'll probably have in this draft. So all kinds of stuff here on Locked On Mavs. Subscribe, listen wherever you're listening or watching this. Use the QR code or the links in the description. All right, Isaac, let's get into this trade a little bit more. So I broke down what the trade is right now. The Mavs are getting expiring contracts in Chris Middleton and Marvin Bagley, which hilariously, Marvin Bagley is only 26. So he's still kind of like in the youngish range, which the Mavs could keep him and hold on to him for a little while. But him and Dwight Powell are a little bit of a Spider-Man meme. The Mavs also get Malaki Branham and AJ Johnson, younger players that Isaac brought up before. They get 3 first-round picks, 2 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks. The 2 first-round picks are this. They get the Thunder's 2026 first-round pick, which is why I was joking that it's kind of a second-round pick, because it's basically going to be the 30th pick in the draft. Although SGA just sustained an injury, he's going to be reevaluated after the All-Star break, so we'll see what happens with them. But they get that pick, so a late first this year, which is still a first, still a pick. The Mavs need as many bites at the apple as they can possibly get. They also get a 2030 protected Warriors first-round pick in this deal from the Wizards. I have to look at the protections on that one and see what's going on with that pick, but a 2030 Warriors pick sounds kind of good to me. We were talking about if Anthony was going to get traded to the Warriors. That's a pick that I would want, but we'll have to look into that one.
I was going to say, we still don't know the protections for that one, right?
I don't know them. No. Somebody's probably yelling at me. I can hear them. I can hear them in my ear.
We're recording this pretty fast after. I mean, we both probably have Twitter pulled up right now.
That's 4 years from now. We'll figure out what that one is. We'll figure out between now and 2030, we will know what that pick is if the Mavs are getting it. They get 3 second-round picks. This year's Phoenix second-round pick. Okay. 2027 Chicago, like that one. 2029 Houston, that one actually could be all right. But second-round picks, the second-round picks are the lube of trades. They just push trades through. They get them. They make them happen. The Mavs can use all of those that they can get in order to push trades through. The Mavs also get off of D'Angelo Russell's contract, which is kind of a sneaky thing that Slightly and I talked about on the show last night. D'Angelo Russell's not playing. He was out for quote-unquote illness yesterday and the games before. He has not played. Jason Kidd was just out on him. And Nico Harrison gave him a player option for next season. And by doing that and using part of the exception, that's what capped the Mavs at the second apron. So this contract has kind of like really held the Mavs back this season, and the Mavs aren't using him. So it was really good to get off of that deal. I also think it was good to get off of Jaden Hardy's contract. He was going to get $6 million next season, and then a team option of $6 million. The Mavs probably would have turned down the year after that, but it still clears up money for next season. They also get off Dante Exum. He was an expiring, but I think that was one that he's not playing this year. He's not played at all this year. It was an expiring contract for the Mavs, but that's one that the Mavs move on from as well. The Mavs don't have to clear a roster spot because it's 4 players for 4 players. So you're like, all right, there's that. We'll see what happens.
They could waive.
I was gonna say they could waive if they want to add Moussa Cisse or Ryan Nembhard. They could just waive Marvin Bagley and Chris Middleton if they want to do that. They can do that. And so they've kind of answered pretty much all the questions that we wanted on this trade deadline. And I think by clearing up all this money, they now don't have to trade Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, Naji Marshall. You can take calls on those guys still. And I think one of the reasons why this trade is done so early is because they probably will still be taking calls on those guys.
I mean, that's icing on the cake right now. If you do something like that, I mean, Bobby Marks sent out this tweet a little bit ago. It said the Mavericks now have the resources, starting with a likely lottery pick and a late first down, so 2 first-round picks in this upcoming draft, and a financial roster resources to build a roster around Cooper Flagg. Dallas has $150 million in guaranteed money next year, well below the tax and apron. Like, that's mind-boggling, all right?
Yeah, we were talking about the aprons. To talk about it, because I get a lot of people asking me, like, what does an apron mean? So there's the salary cap, which is
when you go cooking in the kitchen.
There's a number. And then there's the luxury tax. If you spend over the amount that the NBA allots, you're like, all right, I spent over that. Okay, then there's certain penalties you get. Then there's the first apron. That's a next level after the luxury tax. You spend even more than the luxury tax. So you spend even more than that. Then there's the second apron. If you spend even more than that, this new collective bargaining agreement, the CBA, has made it kind of impossible for teams to make moves. You can only trade one player out at a time, which is why the Cavs were trying to make their moves yesterday. They could only trade one player, and so they had to figure out all these things, and now you have to bend over backwards and pay picks to get off of players and things like that. There's also all kinds of different ramifications for your draft picks. Eventually they get frozen if you're in the second apron long enough. You can't use certain exceptions to sign players in free agency. There's all kinds of different rules for these, and that's why it was so important for the Mavericks, who are not a top 5 team, to not have a top 5 payroll next year.
I mean, before this trade, they were projected to be in the second apron, and now they've dropped below all the aprons in the kitchen and the luxury tax. It's that part is such a win. And here's the thing. I feel like I get this on Twitter or, DMs or whatever. And it's like, why do you care about, Dumont and the Adelsons paying? It's not your money, paying, all these extra fees and money and the aprons and stuff. I don't care what they have to pay for. I do care about roster flexibility and building around Cooper Flagg. And that's what I care about. And like Nick just said, there's so many restrictions that happen the further you get up in the aprons. And listen, some of these teams that are that far over the first apron and into the second apron, like the Cavs, they have title aspirations. All right. They're going for the title. Mavericks aren't there yet. Like they just aren't there yet. So when you're not there, then it's not a good combination to be that high in the salary cap. So anyway, Bobby Marks says for this season, Dallas drops below the luxury tax in both aprons. They have the flexibility in the next 24 hours to continue building up their draft assets. I mean, it's just, this is the, this is the type of move too, because
are you crying? Are you tearing up?
No, I'm wondering how far we want to go with this.
There for a second.
Because you also asked me the other day, you're like, hey,
the flexibility, the roster flexibility, the picks,
they're not in the luxury tax anymore. You also asked me the other day, like, hey, what's a sign that Jason Kidd could be the GM?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, when they pulled the trigger on an Anthony Davis deal, for all these things, do you make a deal this big when you don't have your decision maker already in place? Right. Or do you do all these deals and what they do over the next 24 hours and then say, all right, our new guy come in now, fix the things? I don't know, but it is interesting to think about in that case.
I don't know.
What a concept.
He did get off of D'Angelo Russell. That was my one thing that I said.
You said this. Yeah, you said this a while ago, and I want to say this. the fact that they got off D'Lo and Jaden Hardy in this deal,
How big?
Somebody asked me on our Discord, like, hey, if you had to bet your truck on who would be gone by the.
That's mean. You just got that truck.
I know, my guys, it's not new either. I can't afford a new truck, but don't take my used truck. But if I was like, well, I mean, D'Lo's like a lock. Like he's not. D'Lo, the other day they were playing in their classic hardwood classics uniforms in warmups, and D'Lo, and they're all wearing green. D'Lo's out there wearing his blue warmup, and I'm like, if there's everything.
They didn't give him one?
If there's anything more telling right now, it's just the visual representation of D'Lo and his blue warm up. But yeah, D'Lo's at in the Jaden Hardy extension that Nico gave Hardy, and Hardy is just and they got off those contracts too with Anthony Davis. It's like
which are smaller,
crap.
but we've seen teams have to pay.
That's over $11 million right now with D'Lo and Jaden Hardy.
The Kings just had to trade Keon Ellis with Dennis Schroeder, who was making like 13 to get off of that contract. So like, and Keon Ellis, some people thought was worth a first round pick or worth at least multiple seconds or something like that. And so for the Mavs to not have to pay now, maybe you're thinking, well, they did pay to get off of Anthony Davis. But coming up, let's talk about what this means for the Mavericks this season. Let's talk about what the Mavs look like now, where this takes them, all that coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook, all kinds of things that you can use to get in on the action, including stuff for Super Bowl 60. Last call for football. Super Bowl 60. FanDuel makes sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just for the biggest game of the year. If you're a new customer, bet $5. You get $200 in bonus bets to use across the app. So just bet $5 on anything, and that's just $5. There's right now there's a let's see. Okay, there's this parlay they have right now on the front page. Jackson Smith-Njigba for the Seahawks, plus 70 plus yards receiving. Stephon Diggs, 60 plus yards receiving. Cooper Kupp, 50 plus yards receiving. Kayshon Boutte, 40 yards receiving. My favorite name on the Seahawks. If you bet that, they all get all those.
Booty?
They all get all those yards. Is he Seahawks or is he Patriots? I can't remember.
Booty,
yeah,
Booty. He's on the Patriots. Yeah,
the booty pats.
Booty Pats.
Booty Pats. Wow. You bet $10 on that and they all hit. You get $258 on that. So put down $5 and you could win half that. And then also $200 in bonus bets if you're a new customer. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Last call for football, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, we're talking about the Anthony Davis trade. The Dallas Mavericks make the move. They get pretty much everything that we said that they should get and more, because they not only got expiring contracts to get off of salary, they got picks, they got some young players, they also got off of salaries. And so they kind of got a fourth thing that we did not really expect them to get in this deal. Now, this is going to change the Mavericks this season, I think, a little bit. But D'Angelo Russell was not playing, okay?
No.
Dante Exum was not playing. Anthony Davis was not playing. And Jaden Hardy was barely playing, even though the Mavericks needed guards and needed shooting very badly, and he was not playing.
We kind of need our tank commander, though.
The thing about Jaden Hardy is when Mavs down 20 and Jaden Hardy gets in the fourth quarter, he was an all-star. That's the thing about Jaden Hardy. Absolutely. I'll never forget that about him. He would just go off. So I think it does not change the Mavericks this season much at all. We'll see what happens with Chris Middleton. He's kind of been helpful for the Wizards. He's been a very good vet. Listen to the Locked On Wizards. Those guys have talked about how Chris Middleton's been a good vet for those young guys. And I think that could be cool for the Mavs, but I could also very easily see him get bought out, get sent to a team that actually wants to win, and then he can see if he can help one of those teams.
Yeah, I would expect them to entertain that pretty heavily in the next 24 hours, if not already. For the rest of the season, I mean, for Dallas, it's all about prioritizing the draft picks. I mean, we've been saying this for a while now, or draft pick, in how far they could go up. I mean, even yesterday, we're talking about Memphis. Memphis makes that deal, trades Jaren Jackson. All right, crap. Now we're going to have to out-tank them. Well, yeah, a little easier to try to compete with that tank now.
Is it? I don't think it changes them at all. The Mavs still have, if the Mavs want to tank, they still have to make some moves. Like, they still have to shut.
I remember some people on this podcast saying that Anthony Davis might be coming back this year and playing games for the Mavs.
He might play games for the Wizards.
I know, but I'm saying it's a little easier if AD's not on the floor for the Mavs to lose some games.
It's true.
So
that part
changes.
is true.
And the Mavericks told everyone that he will be healed in a few weeks. All right.
Okay. Should we power rank the things that the Mavs did that made this trade happen? Was one that he would be healed.
This is what I'm saying. This whole time, all of this was just part of the game. All right. This is part of the game. Dumont saying, hey, I think I want to see these three guys together. Hey, we might keep him past the deadline. Hey, he's going to be healed and come back and be playing and everything. And no, this is just telling everybody out there, guys, wait, it's just part of the leverage game. You can't say right now, no, we're trading Anthony Davis.
The thing about the Cavs rumor yesterday where the Cavs had inquired about Anthony Davis was like, to me, felt like another one where Rich Paul was like, hey, can you guys also just mention Anthony Davis in this? I know you guys are actually going for Giannis. Can you mention Anthony Davis's name in this too?
Just throw his name out there. Anybody.
Can we talk about why the Wizards do this for a minute?
Yeah.
I guess they're going all in. Between the Jazz yesterday and the Wizards now, the Wizards get Trey Young and Anthony Davis.
Like the irony that the Hawks said that, hey, we won't trade for Anthony Davis because if we still have Trey on our team. Now the Wizards are like,
I forgot about that. And now the Wizards are like, hey, actually, we would like to do that. We'd actually like to get both of these players.
Keyshawn George and Sar's like, I mean, I guess this is cool.
It's like on one hand, for the Wizards, if you do get a healthy Anthony Davis for any number of games, him and Sar together is a pretty fun front court.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's fun. Anthony Davis does need a pick and roll partner, and he's got that in Trey Young. Yep. So you're like, all right, that's cool. And like, what did this team need? This team needed some like real rim protection and maybe some post scoring, and then they needed a playmaker point guard that can kind of put it all together. And they kind of got those things. I just don't know if these guys are going to be healthy. Either of these guys are going to be healthy enough for them to do anything. And then, I mean, the one thing I will say about the Wizards is a bunch of their young guys, their contracts are not going to kick in for a while. And so they do have this time that they can like, all right, well, let's take a chance on something. And that's what it seems like they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, listen, at some point when you are a perennial sucky team, you got to at least try.
Is that the professional word for? Is that the official word for the dictionary definition?
Well, it's just kind of like the Jazz too. And like at some point you got to kind of go for it. Now I understand the Jazz a little bit more than the Wizards. I wouldn't have done this deal if I was the Wizards. I think there's just where AD's at in his career, he's just not shown that he can stay healthy consistently. And Rich Paul and them, they do want extensions, just all that stuff. Now they got to figure out an Anthony Davis, Trey Young extension for both of them. I mean,
right.
But I guess if you look at it on the grand scheme of things too, from the Wizards, and you look at it from their side, and it's like they didn't give up any of their picks, right? It's not like, hey, their future is attached to this. I think I saw someone a little bit ago on the Golden State protection. It was 21 to 30. So they'll, as long as the Warriors are decent, that I don't know what it like converts to or goes to if they don't get it.
Steph will be like 42 by then. So, not feeling good about that one.
But like you look at the Wizards, they didn't give up any of their like A-list young guys. They didn't give up any of their own draft picks. So they're looking at it. It's kind of like a pre-agency thing too of, hey, let's go get somebody that will never come here. And if it works, it works. If Rich Paul and AD gets a long-term extension from the Wizards, then give Rich the best, agent award again or whatever. It's just, but I hope it works out for him, the player. I hope it works out. It's in the East. I generally do like seeing teams like this, like the Wizards, Jazz. The Hornets are playing well now, but if the Hornets go all in for somebody at some point, because their fan bases just need something to be excited about again. And our guy Ron over at DLLS, I was just giving him crap yesterday in a group text about the Wizards. I'm like, how do you look back on the Kwame Brown era? Do you think John Wall is like your Dirk? Like what is? And they haven't had much to be excited about for a while. So now I was giving our guy Ron crap, yesterday on DLS because he has DC ties and, Wizards fan. And I was like, hey, how's Kwame Brown era? Or how's John Wall in your, how do you view him?
You asked him, is John Wall your Dirk? That's what you That was mean.
But they haven't had a lot to be excited about for the Wizards for a while. I'm honestly looking forward to Bill Simmons and House now, because now House has to talk about AD and Trey Young.
And talk himself into him.
But I get it, though. It's like, you got to give your fan base, like, everything you hear from people. Wizards home games are just absolutely brutal right now. And this gives them something to be excited about heading into next year.
At least that you have a chance, right? You have a chance with Anthony Davis and Trey Young. That could be really good to end them. Those are both perennial all-star type players, guys that complement each other's games really well. We had talked about at one point, like, man, if the Mavs have Anthony Davis and Lively, they could maybe do a Trey Young thing. And like, that could actually, we talked ourselves into that like over the offseason. And so the Mavs make this move. We think that they got everything that they wanted in it. Maybe not to the level that you expected, but they did they checked all the boxes, and now they have a lot of flexibility going forward. They have more moves they can make from now until tomorrow. And so we'll see what happens with Naji Marshall, Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, and all that. Talk about that and more as we do more shows on Locked On Mavs. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, man.